Well, Susan, I'm glad you raised the issue of stakeholder education, because I had a question, and we had some from listeners as well, just about a little bit more about the tactics of, how do you implement that, or some bright ideas that we've seen from others in the field. And in particular, one gentleman asked if it would make sense to get kind of combined groups, your consumer groups, your regulators, and others to sort of do joint voices messaging. Would that help? But I'd be interested in any tactics that have proven successful.
Yeah, great question, and certainly I'll toss it back out to Bernie, Bill, and Brian to add on. But I think the first key thing is making sure that you truly have clarity on who your stakeholders are. And I think, and how you might, and we've used segmentation perhaps in different ways of thinking about segmentation in the past, but truly segmenting those individuals based upon what their concerns are, what their expectations are, what their knowledge level is, what their values are, and having that as a critical subset. And I think as we've reached out, we've been somewhat surprised at the differing levels of maturities across different utilities in terms of their true understanding of who those stakeholders are. And rather than thinking about customers, for example, as large C&I residential and small and medium business, you may want to think about them very differently as you're rolling out your smart metering programs based upon the values. So there may be sub-segments within different groups, and understanding that. So I think that is certainly first and foremost. And then developing, based upon those expectations, based upon those values, creating those tailored programs to be able to address their challenges or educate them, etc.
Okay. Well, I've got a question here that's addressed to Bill. And based on your progress today, do you think the requirements, your workforce requirements, are going to increase or decrease? Now, that's excluding the downsizing of meter reading.
Well, when you net everything out, after meter reading, overall, it'll probably be somewhat of a decrease, but there are absolutely areas that are experiencing increases. And in fact, many of our meter readers, as they've been displaced, have actually moved into other positions in the company. Over 80% of them, into different areas. You've deployed, as I said before, you're deploying a whole new set of infrastructure that requires maintenance. And in many cases, what we've done with a lot of our meter readers is to reskill and retool them to take other types of jobs within the field, such as maintaining some of the new infrastructure. In the IT areas and in the back office areas, again, the operations, the monitoring, and the troubleshooting of this technology is a wholly new set of skills, and has absolutely caused some workforce increases in those particular areas. But at the end, at least from a smart meter perspective, it'll probably be a net decrease. But as you move into, and this is one of the things that we have started to talk a lot about here, is as you move now beyond the meter, and you now again are expanding the scope of services that you're providing to customers, and now potentially inside their home with smart devices and that are talking and communicating via the smart grid infrastructure, that's going to drive new jobs as well.
Terrific. And Bill, final question here. Has PG&E made any organizational shifts, changes, reorganizations? And if so, what things have worked for you? And would you recommend to others for consideration?
We have. One of the areas is looking at the integration of our various energy efficiency and demand response in what we've now come to call the integrated demand side management element of the PG&E. PG&E for a long time has been the national leader in energy efficiency and has had incredible success but the technology itself is changing the types of programs that can be made available to customers from an energy efficiency and in the demand response areas. And as a result, we actually have changed those organizations to bring things into what we've called an integrated demand-side management kind of structure. Likewise, the establishment of a wholly new operations function to support the smart meter infrastructure has been an important operational change, bringing together really into a single organization, both business and IT, to operate this new infrastructure and to troubleshoot issues with that. And they work very, very closely with the other meter-to-cash back office functions, and we continue to tweak that model a bit.
Well, for Susan and or Brian, are you seeing other utilities look at a more integrated organizational model, or are they staying with a more typical departmental model?
Just in my experience, what I am seeing is that utilities are still working on what is the most effective way to reorganize to take advantage of these. And I think it very much ties back to those business outcomes and the starting points of where they are in their smart grid initiatives. So once again, there's not a single answer. I think Bill's explanation of what he's seeing at PG&E is absolutely one case of what we're seeing. I think there's going to be a different answer depending on where you are in the process. So.
Great. Thank you for that. Well, Susan, did you want to add?
Nope. I exactly echo Brian's comment.
We've reached the end of our time, and so to Susan Christensen, Brian Payne, and Bill Devereaux, thank you for your time and your expertise, and to Bernie Buchanowski as well. And to all of you, thank you for joining us, and please watch smartgridnews.com for future lessons from the real world.